What's up, guys? It's been a minute since I've had a thought. Yes, I do go all this time without thinking until this moment, and then I just have a thought. So, yeah, that would actually be hilarious if that's how the brain worked, but obviously it doesn't work that way. So, got to thinking about us as people. And how we, I don't know, it's tough, how we see each other. The world, the nation, every country, it's amazing because I was listening to a report on Israel, Saudi Arabia, and their relations and all this other stuff. And it's amazing the long-standing hatred or dislike that cultures have towards one another because of past wrongs of people that don't even exist anymore. And yes, it gets handed down from generation to generation, you know, Billy Bob or John or whoever wronged whoever. It's like the Hatfields and McCoys, and you just keep it going because it happened here, and so now you're going to do it because it happened then. And I sadly, that actually translates to a lot of people's lives, just in their relationships in their families, with friends, you know, that someone wrongs you, and then it's carried on and on and on, and then whole decisions are made on how you're going to interact with other people based off of that. Hence where you have racism, where you have religious division, all these different things that take place because of something that someone did some time ago that's not even around for you to even talk to, get advice from, or try to get an understanding of why they did it. But because it took place and because it was carried on, like the infamous, you know, the stories that are passed down from generation to generation, and then you hold on to that this is our history, and this is why we do what we do, and this is why we treat people the way we treat people. When you start to look at it, and if you truly are honest with yourself and you look at it deeply, and you look at how your life is and the people that you encounter, that you have full capability of not falling into that narrative of, well, because it happened here, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to treat you a certain way because of what happened in the past, or I'm going to see you a certain way because of how someone else treated my ancestors. And then it just gets carried on. And once again, it is a broad spectrum of how that takes place, whether it's, once again, has to do with people's race or has to do with their religion. It could even be having to do with jobs. It could with how you see male and female, all these different things that take place. And it's sad because we create our own crutches and our own handicaps in our lives based off of something that literally probably had nothing to do with us at all. It had to do with someone else in our family or a friend or whatever it is. So I think we have to start to become much wiser than we are in how we deal with our lives and how we deal with other people. I made a statement to somebody at work because people have a tendency, you know, in work situations and personal situations, that people will make judgment calls based off of what someone else has told them about someone else. And so they'll base their whole judgment on that individual based off of someone else's opinion of that person. And I gave this example of why that's foolishness. Why? So, and this is the example. If I show you a picture of whatever, sunset and mountains and trees, whatever, you look at it, and then I take that same picture and I show it to someone else, 100% guarantee you they're going to see it differently than you see it. They're going to see the same generalities possibly, but the detail-oriented side of it is going to seem different to them. They'll have a different feeling than you feel because of whatever their experience was with the mountain and the sun. So I grew up in Colorado, so when I see mountains, I feel different towards the big mountains than my wife does, who grew up in Tennessee, looking at the small mountains. Different feeling, because that's what I was experiencing when I was around. But are either one of us wrong or right? No, because it's how we view it and it's our perspective on it. So therefore, I can make no judgment call based off of what you tell me about another individual if I've never encountered them. I can't apply your perception of how you see someone to my perception of how I choose to see them. If I do that, then I'm a fool, because I'm making rash judgments on someone that I've never even encountered yet. And it happens constantly that we anticipate the meeting of someone or the engagement of someone based off of what someone else has said because of whatever issues they had with them or didn't have with them. Doesn't matter. You may meet someone and you may get told by someone, this person's amazing, blah, blah, blah. But then you have a relationship with them and it's not great at all. But understand that every person that crosses your path is put there for you to learn and for you to grow from, good or bad, however you want to see it. They are there to help you to move forward in your life. Even if at that moment it seems like this is not a good thing, or at the moment it seems like it's a great thing. Whichever it is, they are there to help you grow. All this ties in together because of how we see people. This world is so destructive against itself, the people within it, because of the things that have taken place based off of what someone else has had or what history has told us what has taken place. And so all decisions are made upon those facts. Instead of an individual taking their life and the people that they encounter and basing their decisions based off of the quality of the character of the individuals that they encounter. There's going to be people that you encounter in your life that should never be in your life. And you need to be wise enough to see that, and you need to pull away from them. Does it mean that they're bad people? No, it just means that they're not supposed to be part of your life. It's like a recipe for cooking. There's certain things I'm going to add to a dish, and there's certain things I'm not going to add to a dish because it doesn't go with that dish. Does it make it right or wrong? No, it doesn't. It just means that those things don't belong in the things that I'm making. And it's the same with relationships. There's going to be people that I'm going to encounter that need to be part of my life, and there's going to be other people I encounter that don't need to be, and I don't need to be part of theirs, and that's okay too, because we don't have to all have to like each other nor get along with each other in that sense for things to be wonderful. Because once again, everybody is a season in your life. So take it as that. Take that fact that everyone is a season in your life. Some are long, some are short, but they are there for you to learn what you need to learn so that you can take your next step in the next part of your journey on this planet. So think about that, though. Really, really think about that. Examine how people treat each other. And I was reading something, and it was about sundown towns, which apparently still exist throughout America. And basically what it was is that there's several towns within America. There's even counties in certain states that this has taken place since slavery times, of where, basically if you're anything other than a particular skin color, you better be out of town by the sundown. And I've seen that, and I've evidenced that in my life. And it's sad because that principle is based off of the fact of a handed down thought process that a person has chosen to take on for themselves based off of misinformation about people, based off of misinformation about individuals. But because it was passed down to them from their parent, and then that person's parent passed it down to them, they take it as the truth of how these particular individuals may or may not be. It's sad because that means that you don't have your own mind. It means that you are a fool because you choose to not listen to the truth within your heart. You choose to listen to the deception or the lie that is being told to you based off of someone else's emotional state at the time they made their decisions to look at a certain individual a certain way. And now you take on that same mindset because they're family or they're close friends, so they must be right. Well, I can guarantee you all of us make really bad decisions sometimes, and all of us are sometimes not as wise as we think that we are when it comes to making decisions about a lot of things in our lives. But if I'm going to be foolish enough to base my life off of someone else's decision-making process and take that on as this is how things are, then I'm being very foolish towards myself, because every individual on this planet has their own recipe, has their own ingredients for what their life is supposed to be. There are things that you're going to encounter that you can learn from, you can glean things from it, and then you can find out what part of that is supposed to be part of your life. But if you foolishly believe that there's only, and I keep referencing food, but it's a great way to do it, that there's only one way to eat, to make macaroni and cheese, and that's how you base your whole life. And it's truly only mac cheese if I make it this particular way. If that's how you're living your life, then you really need to re-examine it. You really, really do, because there's multiple ways to make macaroni and cheese. Different cheeses, different pasta, different whether you use milk or heavy cream, whether you add garlic, whether you add crumbles. There's all these different ways that you can do it. And that's what life is. There's so many different ways that each individual can make the recipe for their life so that it suits how they're supposed to be on this planet. So just think about that. Just think about it, because we're supposed to love one another, but the only way that you can ever love anyone else is when you've come to grips and come to the realization of who you are as a person, and that you have learned to love yourself and accept who you are, not who your parents told you who you are, not who your generational traditions have told you that you are. And I don't care whether that's race or religion or whatever it is. Whatever you've been told that you are based off of the past of others is not the truth of who you are. That is a concept of what you step into to think this is who you are. I've had to learn a lot on who I am, and I've had to erase what I've come from. Because if I hold on to where I came from, or where my relatives came from, or where my parents came from, or my ancestors came from, if I hold on to that, then I never truly find me. I'm always holding on to great whoever's identity as my identity. Well, first of all, great whoever's dead. His identity was his, or her identity was hers, not me. They're long since gone, but why would I hold on to something that is not me? Yes, can I glean and learn things from it? Yes, of course I can. But I don't make that part of who I am. Because if I do, once again, I'm being very foolish. Because what took place and what happened then, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 years ago, has nothing to do with this moment that I'm living right now. Unless I choose to make it be part of this moment and base my decisions off of those moments and make my judgment calls based off of those moments, then yes, it will affect my life. Will it affect it to the direction I'm supposed to be headed? Probably not. It's probably going to misdirect you from who you truly are. So hopefully there comes a point in your life where you let go of who you think you are and you start to grab a hold of who you truly are. And that takes a lot of work, that takes a lot of healing, that takes a lot of silence and listening to yourself and truly becoming aware of who you are. Because who you are is deep within Christ, because he's always within you. And once you connect to that Christ part of you, then the trueness of who you are will start to envelop and start to shine and start to reveal itself to you. And it won't matter what your past is. It won't matter what your skin color is. It won't matter what religion you're part of. It won't matter what job you have. It won't matter whether you're single or you're married. None of that will matter at all, because it's completely irrelevant to the truth of who you are. You are not the things that you do. You are not the job that you are. You are not the religion that you say that you are. You are not the skin color that you say that you are. That is not who you are as a spiritual being. Those things are completely irrelevant to your spirit. Completely irrelevant. a skin color or a race or a religious identification, your identifying markers that you put on your life, those are completely irrelevant to the spirit that is within you. Those are third dimensional thought processes that have nothing to do with the truth of who you are, because they're all fleeting. If you were deaf, dumb, and blind, in other words, you couldn't see, hear, or know what you look like or where you came from, all you could experience was what little senses you had left. Your viewpoint on the world will be completely different than a seeing, hearing, and touching being. But it actually might be more truthful than the one that you are now. Because these things, the eyes, the hearing, the smells, all those things can be very deceptive. They can mislead us because we trust that they are showing us what is reality. But I think if you start to look at your life, you're going to learn a lot of things you see, hear, and everything else aren't necessarily reality and the truth of who you are. They're things that you acquire to make you think that this is who you're supposed to be. It's heart-wrenching when you start to think about it. How many people's lives have been based off of other people's lives? Off of traditions, off of cultural traditions, off of family traditions. Tradition, honestly, is a horrible word. It puts you in a box that only certain people can be in. And if you're in that box with them, everybody is so proud and they're so full of pride on their traditions and their culture. But that is not who I am. I'm not my tradition. I'm not my culture. I'm not. And yes, you can look at me and you can make judgment calls based off of what I look like. That's what's so funny about the way that I look. My daughter gets it all the time too. My son does. I think it's hilarious because no one knows what we are. And the questions are always asked, but it cracks me up because it shows me that is where your judgment of who I am, even though you won't admit it, is based solely upon what you see. Not the condition of my heart, not the truth of my spirit, but what I look like. You have a reference point, like a little Rolodex or a computer that you'll go through to go, okay, if I say this, then you automatically apply these data points or these things that basically explain who I am to you in your brain. Which is so funny because it's so contrary to truly who I am. And it's so contrary to who you truly are. So if I see you and you look like you're African American or black or whatever term's being used at the moment, and I make a judgment call based off of that, well, first I'm stupid. I'm a fool because I don't know you. I'm going off of what someone else's references points. If I look at you and you look like you're from India, or you look like you're from Japan, or you look like you're from Ireland, and then I quickly do my thing in my head and make a judgment call based off of that. And so I will start to treat you a certain way, talk to you a certain way, try to identify with you a certain way because of what I think that you are. I'm being very foolish. Instead of standing back and waiting and let's have a conversation. Let's talk. Let's find out who each other is. Forget all this. That's irrelevant. Because once again, if you're deaf, dumb, and blind, you won't know what I look like anyway. You wouldn't even be able to tell by my voice what culture I come from. So just think about these things. Think about it. That's a thought. Because I think we can start to change ourselves. See, this world can't change all in one fell swoop. It only changes one individual at a time. Each person finding out truly who they are, establishing boundaries for who they are so that no one can cross them, and standing fast in the truth of who you are. Not in the truth of who your parents are, not in the truth of who your wife is or your husband is or who your kids are or who your ancestors were or who your culture is or what your religion is or what your job is or whatever it is that you want to self-identify with, your sexual orientation. That's not you. That's not you at all. None of that is you. Those are things you choose to identify with to give yourself security and comfort that I'm okay, that I have something that I'm secure in. But see, your security comes from the Christ within you. So when you understand that, then it doesn't matter. None of that matters. Not any of it. Whether you're rich or you're poor, whether you're black or you're white, or you're Jewish or you're Muslim or you're Christian or you're atheist or you're a Wicca, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because that has nothing to do with the truth of who you are. When you live in this world outside of yourself, you will always, always, always be lost, and you will always live in your ego. You have no choice, because you're asking the world to provide to you identity. And it will. It will provide identity all day long. Look at social media. Look at movies. Look at beauty magazines. Look at everything that's constantly trying to provide you identity, no matter what age you are. I'm 56 years old. I'm at the AARP age. They tell me who I am. You know, the commercials show you kind of what old people look like and what problems they're going to run into health-wise. I could latch onto that. I could latch onto that identity. And guess what will happen? I'll have that identity, the ailments, the sickness, the whatevers, so I can use my AARP or my Medicare. It's all identity. The world is constantly trying to push identity onto you for you to grab a hold of it. Resist. Your identity comes from within. It does not come from without. It does not come from anything outside of you. Your car, your clothes, the amount of money you have in your bank account, irrelevant. Money is irrelevant. Yes, we need it, sadly, because that's the system we live in. It has zero value. A dollar bill has no value because it only has value because you say a dollar's worth a dollar, whatever that means. $1 billion is a lot of dollars, and it's worth a lot. Is it really? The paper, it's worth, which is not even paper, it's numbers now. You don't even see it. So it's worth a lot because we say it is. If the world decided that money had no value, guess what? It would have no value. That's just kind of how that works now, which once again is identity. We determine what is truth and what is a lie. And the majority of the world lives outside of itself, so it's always constantly searching for all these different things to give it identity and to give it meaning. But if we spent more time trying to find out who we were, who we are, what this spirit is that has existed since before time on this planet, if we spent time trying to find that out, peace would always be within us. It would not be fleeting. It wouldn't be moments of it. It would be existence in it. So enjoy your life. Enjoy the things that you do and that you're part of. But don't be fooled into thinking that that's you. Don't be fooled by it. Because when you fall into that trap, you know, people who are highly educated, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. No, you're not. You're not. That's the job you do. That's not you. If you think that is you, then once again, you're being fooled. You have a skill set that enables you to apply the knowledge that you've learned, but that's not you. I'm a carpenter. I mean, I work at FedEx. I throw packages all day. I'm a package handler. Is that me? I work at a catering company. I cook. I work events. I'm a chef. That's the term. I'm a chef. Am I? No. I have a skill set that allows me to cook, and then they throw a title on it, and people say that's what I am. No, I'm not. That's just a skill set. It's stuff I do. It's action items. It's not me. Because once I pull myself out of that, I realize that those things, it makes me non-important in the scheme of things. I'm invaluable, but if I attach that I'm a whatever, then it starts to put me on levels with other people. So if you're a doctor versus an electrician, you seem to be lower. If you're the electricians over the doctor, why? Because more education, you seem to be smarter. I don't know, dude. I've met some really smart electricians. And guess who the doctor calls when electricity stops working? But guess who the electrician calls when he's sick? Is one smarter than the other? No. Is one a doctor? No. He has a skill set that enables him to practice medical practices. The person who deals in electricity is not an electrician. That's the title, but that's not who he is. And I hope you're understanding that. You are not who people say you are. You have skill sets that enable you to do certain things. And yes, titles are attached to them. But please don't grab a hold of those things thinking that's who you are. Well, you know, and it's hard because generationally, when you come from the World War II generation and forward, you know, they held on to these job positions though for 30, 40 years. I was an electrician for 40 years. I was this for 40 years. I'm a blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And how much did you miss out on because that's what you thought you were? Because that was your security and that became your identity. Teach your children from when they're young, who they are is not what they do. Who they are is deep within, is deep within them. Who they are is this spiritual being that is connected to the creator of all, the father of everything. And is this magnificent, loving, and valuable spiritual being that has the capability of creating and being something more than this world can ever imagine. That's who we are. But once we attach identity to it, we degrade the quality and the value of who we are by attaching something that is part of this world to it, which automatically degrades our capabilities and who we are as spiritual beings. Automatically. Because now we are material beings and we apply material standards to how we live our lives. So, anyway, something to think about. I know it's been a minute. I hope y'all have an amazing day. I gotta work. Gotta go do an event. I love you guys. I've encountered some amazing people in my life. And I keep encountering more between my jobs and just people I meet, different places, from all different types of identities that they've attached to themselves, but I don't really care. Because I know that we're all on this journey. We all have to learn these things. It takes time. And Lord, I'm willing to take the time with you so that you can learn. Because once you learn, man, it's awesome. And then hopefully you can teach and show other people the truth of who they can be. Because that's what you should be doing. Finding about how you can become part of something wonderful by sharing who you are and helping people start to learn the truth of who they are. That's an awesome, awesome, awesome feeling. And I'm not talking about trying to, once again, latch yourself onto something that is identity-based. And this is hard probably for my Christian friends, people who identify as Christians. Because we've been told that this is what we are. But I'm not. I'm not any of that at all. I don't have to be. I don't have to identify myself as anything because I'm not. Me is Kevin. That's my name here. My middle name I love, Invaluable. Antoine means invaluable. That's awesome because I am. I'm invaluable. There is no price that can be placed upon me. But my Christian friends, Muslim friends, back away from your identity. The Christ within you is enough. You don't have to call yourself anything because you are you. Don't lessen who you are by attaching that label to yourself. What do you believe? And if I tell you what I believe, then you will attach a label to it. How about I just be me and not tell you anything about what I believe, but I live the example of what I am. And then you will know what I am. You won't have to believe it, because if you believe what I am, and I've said this before, if you believe in something, you can unbelieve it. But if you know something, you can never unknow it. Awesome. Awesome. I've even found out that I've got people who watch these that I didn't know watched them. And some people even look forward to listening to them, which kind of just makes me giggle. Because I do these things is more therapeutic for me than probably more than anything. I talk and I learn from just talking about things about myself and about things that take place. I actually learn as I'm speaking to you, because that's how our spirit works. It has to come out from our spirit so that our 3D material human self can go, oh, okay, that makes sense. But when it's kept inside, sometimes you don't get all that stuff out. You don't learn as well. But when you hear it, you're like, okay, yeah. So even though things I may say may seem like I know a lot of things, well, I'm learning as I speak to you about a lot of things. Then I have to be responsible to glean back what I just said. That's crazy. Yep. That's how it works. That's how your spirit works within you. You learn as you sometimes do. It goes back to one of the things I said, that my theory of everything, that I think that we know everything that takes place and that exists. And we only encounter keys in our life that unlock what we already know. That's why it always feels so familiar when you go, oh, okay. And you grab a hold of it. It feels familiar. But you never think about it that way. You just think, oh man, that's amazing. I didn't know that. Yeah, you did. You know it. The key just unlocked it so that you would realize that you already knew what you knew. That's amazing. That's freaking amazing to me. So anyway, talk long enough. This has like been going on for 30 minutes. My bad. It was supposed to be just a thought, and it's still all the same thought. It all ties together. So anyway. But love you guys. Hope your day is amazing. Love you. Peace.